Hello there YouTube, I am Wheelchair21, and on today's rolling review we will be looking at Max Factory's Figma Yugi, which celebrates the 20th anniversary of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. Now this box uses a wonderful purple and black for its base design, shows off everything that Yugi can do. Pretty much he can wear his jacket like a cape, he has his Duel Disk, has his Millennium Puzzle, has two optional things, one drawn card and an entire hand of cards. And as you can see in the packaging, I've already opened it, so pieces are kind of falling all over the place, such as his additional eyes, his hand of cards, and the puzzle chain itself. That's one of the problems I seem to get when repackaging the figures. Once removing Figma Yugi from its packaging, one can see it's wonderfully sculpted to look exactly like his anime counterpart or his manga counterpart. And I just gotta say, I love the cell shading or the color design, the color scheme that they use to capture the accurate tones to his pants and shirt. Really good, really decent. I like it. I like that it uses his Duelist City version where he uses the sleeveless tee and actually throws his jacket back like a cape. So that's probably one of the better highlights. When it was just regular Duelist Kingdom, he just wore the entire school uniform over top and never took off the jacket. So it's pretty badass, pretty cool, and helps to go with the fact that people still want a goddamn Sato Kaiba. The points of articulation are basic Figma joints where we have a nice swivel for the actual hips, knees, no foot really. I discovered that in my first take of the review. The shoulders are a little bit hindered by how they sculpt the shirt sleeves. And then you have a nice elbow, pretty decent wrist, head articulation, so on and so forth. And he has a waist joint. Yeah, right here. But one of the biggest problems with this figure, really, is the joints are a lot tighter. I mean, they use a similar style to Reveltech, or Reveltech copies Figma, where they use weird ratchet joints, and luckily Figma has the sturdier ones. Problem is, sometimes removing them from the pegs or reattaching limbs or accessories can be a pain in the ass due to how the pegs are designed. Another pain is the fact that the Millennium Puzzle, the way that it's molded to be screen accurate, it likes to sit like this rather than sitting face out with the actual Millennium Eye facing outwards. You know, this little bastard right here. The head sculpt is great. It does hinder, though, the ability to face swap accurately. Now, I say that because they use a harder plastic than, say, Figuarts, and since the hair is so slim and slender, it's hard to remove to replace for his more serious dual face, which can also have additional swapping eyes to have him looking to the right or looking to the left, which is honestly a huge problem. I don't like that aspect. I think it's stupid. As well as with the Duelist cards, because they're so small, the backs are the only accurate thing about them, and their fronts, there's pretty much no life to them. People would have at least thought that this card right here, this single card, would have been like a piece to Exodia, or at least supposed to be like the Dark Magician, but it's still just a lifeless blank card, so there's not much to display with these cards. Whereas the Duel Disk is wonderful. I gotta say, the metallic blue for where you select your monsters, pretty grand, pretty great, where you attach your spells. The entire metal around the rim, wonderful. It's probably one of the most accurate Duel Disks we've seen in a toy or figurine-like design, and really splendid. I really do love this. This is probably a lot of people's favorite version of the Duel Disk, aside from probably the 5Ds ones, which is a little bit more slimmer and compact designs based on the original Duel Disk. The last piece that pisses me off the most is Figma always does this. Okay, so Figma usually has it that there's holes either in the accessories that go on their back and that you can put the stand into, or the stand directly into them. And the biggest problem is the pegs that they use are supposed to match into the actual hole that they're supposed to peg and slot into. There's one problem, though. They make it that it can go in deeper and further, but they don't Dremel it out all the way to actually fit the damn peg, which makes it harder for someone to attach it and allow it to rest on the figure, making it just like it's practically not even in. Like, best example is, before we even put it on its display for final evaluation, it just doesn't go in. And once you get it in, you got to put a little bit of force, and even by moving it, it falls off. So, overall, biggest flaw is they don't know how to Dremel out a goddamn hole. It's evaluation time, and for my final evaluation, Max Factory's Figma Yugi is a wonderfully sculpted figure. But that's the case with all of their figures. They're always sculpted grand. They're always almost 100% accurate, whether it be to their anime design or their manga design, or a little bit of both. And in this case, Yugi feels like he's a bit of both, due to the fact that, well, there are some variations in the tone and the texture, in the applications, and yada yada yada, and the sculpt of his overall body, whether it be super slim and slender, like almost like a clamp design, or having his more slightly still bulkier and slender design. It doesn't really freaking matter. Now, being that it's a Figma, there are already obvious cons that I do not like, and these are just issues I've always had with Figma when purchasing them in the past. Whether it be the Dragonite Figmas, whether it be the various anime figures like Guyver and all the other ones that I've gotten. The biggest issue I have is they don't know how to properly, I would say, Dremel out their areas for inserting accessories that attach to the back, or the stands to be able to fit properly into the back or into the cape, like with Yugi. That is probably the biggest pain in the ass, and it's just lightly held together by friction rather than the full insertion of the pegs. However, like I say, I love the design, and it's wonderful to have. Just, there are those cons you have to, be afraid of, especially like with the goddamn hair, because it's not a soft material, it's kind of a hard material, which makes me afraid to swap out the faces, because I'm afraid it's so brittle it will break, causing damage to the figure, and I wouldn't want to do that since this figure goes for like $40 to $60. That's just outrageous. So, for fans out there, if you've collected Figma before, you know what you're getting yourself into. If you're, the casual Yu-Gi-Oh fans that just want this because you love Yugi, the original series, and so on and so forth, I don't really recommend it is for you unless you know what you're really getting yourself into. If you're going to keep it in the box, that's good for you. If you're going to try to put it out on display, that's bad. If you think you should get this and use it as an action figure, that's also very bad. But, like I said, I'm probably going to put it back in box for a short period of time till I can find my Egyptian god model kits that came out during the American toy line that were like almost 2 feet tall. And I'll put him near them just to recreate like scenes like that. But overall, I would say that this is a pass, even though my heart says you should have this if you love Yugi and the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. But like I say, pass on this if you're not really into the Figma style. Now, if you are, it's completely for you. Anyways, I'm Wheelchair21. You can find me here on YouTube, over at HeroTaku.com, Hero Club. You can like my page on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter and as well as Instagram, and I'll see you all next time.